Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire Stick TV, Facebook, and YouTube. Get all your sports news here first. The daily podcasts are Ken and Ken in the Morning, Lions Talk with Smoking Jeremy B, Wrestling Roundup, The Big Football Show, and more, Shield TV, Lions Villain Report, and Red Zone Rant. The afternoon podcasts are Valhalla, Grosef Sports, WCFL Dolphins Talk, The Cheap Seats, The Bodkin Show, Spirit of Detroit Podcast, and Maniacs. The nightly podcasts are Hallis Hall Report, Frozen Tundra Network, Skull Gang 365, The Huddle Sports Network Open Mic, First and 10 with Foz, Main Event Football Show, Prime Sports World, The Man Cave, Prim and Proper Sports, Spitballing Podcast, Lions Fan Cave Chat, Puckett, 313 Den Podcast, The Guys Huddle, Shots from the Sideline, Let's Talk Sports, The Michigan Truth Sports Podcast, Off the Rails, NFC Northeast, Power Hours, and Detroit Lions News. Make sure you follow, like, share, subscribe, and comment.
Here locally in the community, make sure y'all go check out Meat Cat Bodies by Jeremy.
Good morning or afternoon. One Pride. Davey's in the chat. How's everybody doing? It's another great day to be alive. And let's face it, even Shefty's jumped on it. After tonight's Vikings loss to the Rams, the teams that play the Lions 1 week now are 0-5 the very next week. The Rams have lost to the Cardinals. The Bucks have lost to the Broncos. The Cardinals have lost to the Commanders. The Seahawks lost to the Giants. The Cowboys were on a bye. That's why it's only 0-5 and not 0-6. But the Vikings lost to the Rams. I say it continues, and it's 0-6 after the Cowboys lose to the Niners, despite all their injuries. And I'm going to say it now. That was a missed penalty. But at the same time, they had only had either 1 or 2 first downs, and that was due to penalty in the fourth quarter to make it 3. The amazing catch by Jefferson was a first down, too. So I give them credit where credit is due. But that was throughout the entire quarter. That was 3 different drives. There is no guarantee they would have scored to tie that game. I think it was over. But you know what day it is. It's Friday. Normally it's Fuck Your Feelings Friday. Well, as Lions fans, we need to get into it. This is the statement from Jameson Williams. This week, I was notified by the NFL that I have been suspended for violation of the performance-enhancing substances policy. The news came as a complete surprise that I am still trying to understand. I don't take supplements or vitamins. I'm overly cautious about even taking over-the-counter medicine. At no time have I ever taken something in an attempt to cheat or look for an unfair advantage. I understand that I am responsible for everything that goes into my body, and I have to take accountability in this instance. I have nothing but love and respect for this game, my teammates, coaches, the Lions organization, and the city of Detroit. It is disappointing to accept this suspension, and it will hurt me to be away from my team as they prepare this week. So out of respect to my teammates, this will be the last time I address this matter. Say what you want. That don't sound like an immature kid. That sounds like somebody who's accepting his responsibility for what happened to him, and he's owning up to it. So kudos to him. It sucks because Shefty said the day before that it's over a change in his prescription drugs that he had an exemption for, but they didn't notify the league. And they could win the suspension appeal, and he's choosing not to do it. Why? I don't think they want to drag it out anymore because what happens if they do the appeal, they lose it next week? Then he's missing versus the Packers and Texans instead of just the Titans and Packers. I think he's looking out for the team more than himself, and that's putting the team first. First and foremost, I want to get that out there right now. So say what you want. That's a stand-up move to put the team before himself because there's no guarantee he wins the appeal. Shefty said, "I think they win the appeal." He doesn't know they'll win the appeal. He also said he didn't think the NFL was going to suspend him at all. So he was wrong on both counts. That being said, it is Fuck Your Feelings Friday. For the Minnesota fans, I'm sorry that you lost last night, but I did predict it. And so far, every team that's lost has lost by at least 9 points or more. But the fraud detection has been found. Saints started out hot and fizzled quick. Quarterback gets injured. This guy gets injured. Kamara's playing with a broken hand and wants out. I doubt they can move him. But the Saints throwback jerseys are coming out this week as they travel to face the Chargers. Have you beaten a team with a winning record? Of course, it's week 8. I feast on the blood of the weak and wither in the shadow of the strong. Well, he gets his chance to beat a team with a winning record this weekend. I'm not saying they will or won't. And I'm not saying that they can't because that would be wrong. But to underestimate that defense, wow, they just announced Tua is playing. How many quarters? I still think the Cardinals win. Remember his first game back after the last concussion? He didn't look right, threw a lot of picks. I expect the same. Because I didn't hear he was playing. I heard that it was a game time decision, and he hadn't even been put on the active roster yet. He was just off the IR and in his 21-day window. So if he cleared protocols, then he can play. But I hadn't heard he done that. Oh, ESPN just reported it. Okay. I don't have time to do all that. I'm in the middle of a show. I'll look it up after the show. I'm done with going up to reports during the show and checking the messenger thing and all that because if it doesn't come from Detroit Lions fan chat that I'm in where I get reports straight from Tim Twentyman and Jeff Risden during my show, I'm not saying it anymore. After what happened yesterday, I will research it and do my due diligence and do it later. That's what I'll do. But during my show, I'm not going all over the place to look stuff up because it's time consuming. But Dan Campbell says Josh Pascal is dealing with something and won't practice today, but it's listed as an illness. But he was in the building locker room yesterday. Dan Campbell says if Yetu Melipamu is progressing and is better than when they put him on the IR, but they are not going to rush him on the field. So there's that stuff. I don't mind doing that stuff because that comes directly to me and that's from a Detroit Lions page. So I get those notifications right in my messages. As far as the other stuff, I'll look it up after. I just hadn't heard it, and I didn't hear it while I was waiting. So if it just reported, kudos to him. He gets to play. I think it's a mistake, and I'll leave it at that. And I am not knocking the Vikings team right now. They played great the first half. They fell apart in the second half. I think they abandoned the run too soon, which made them pass more, which allowed that defense to pin their ears back and do more damage. Them missing Darisaw hurt. We all saw what Blake Cashman missing in the middle of the defense, but it was more than that. That secondary doesn't look right anymore. I think they got a little bit exposed, and a lot of teams are following the model. And it didn't start with the Lions. It started in the second half of the Packers game before the bye. The Packers almost came back and won. I'm not trying to give the Packers credit, but I think they exposed it and all the other teams have just done it the entire game. Am I saying if they had Blake Cashman they'd have won? No, but I'm just saying he's a better run tackler than people gave him credit for, and they missed it. So tonight will be the Lions Titans versus Lions pregame show. You know what I'm hoping happens? I'm hoping Harold Landry never makes it back to Tennessee. Rendowitz, sad to hear too is playing. I just hope he doesn't end up punch drunk when he's in his 30s. I agree with JB. I think it's a mistake. You don't lose in one play, but goddamn, the refs muffed that play. As happy as I am, Vikings lost. It's not the way I wanted to see it happen. It is good to see you, PC Payload. I've been trying for weeks to get you on Fridays, and there it is. I just got the notification from my Dolphins buddy. So yes, he's playing. I didn't want to see it happen like that, but at the same time, that was a muff play, and it could have given that. What's up? Stafford finally does the Lions a favor. Ricky Sakat says, "Good afternoon, brother. I hope you had a great birthday." Ricky Sakat. But what a great week. 5-2 with a loss in the division for him. I see that. Also, a couple of friends were great to you. I saw what you got. That's amazing. Working like the dog I am on Fridays. Gotcha. I was like, wow, he went from on every week to gone, and we're doing good. We had one bad game, and I didn't know what happened. And it really wasn't that bad of a game. It was a bad red zone game. Let's get it right. I think we were worse on defense versus Minnesota than we were versus anybody. Zietler is playing this week. He's been a full participant all week. It looks like Josh Pascal is out with an illness. Um, Mosley has returned to practice at Allen Park with the rehab trainers and everything. They're saying he's trending to return by Thanksgiving. Comiskey is rumored to be coming back either next week or the week after. So everything they've said is, and they said Ifeatu Melifonwu may not have to wait till week 18 to get activated. He's trending in the right direction, but they're not going to push him and bring him back early and have him re-injure like he did last time. So there's that. And fraud alert. They got lionized. But Tua is playing, and I think and I'm gonna say it's a huge mistake. I remember when he came back after the 2 concussions in the one game, when they didn't take him out for the one, and he got really concussed after. And I remembered that game after. Remember how many picks he threw to a defense that wasn't getting picks at the time? Right, Mosley and Iffy both. I agree, Brent DeWitt. It's gonna be great to have them both back, but I don't wanna rush anything either. Because remember, it wasn't his legs this time, it was a torn pec. Everybody forget, the only reason why he's able to return is because how early it was. With it being week 4 or week 3 with, Davenport is why he wouldn't be able to return for the season, and it required surgery. Trey Hendrickson is a great middle linebacker. He plays for, I believe it's the Bengals, and he's not on the trade block anymore because they started playing well, so I don't think that's happening. I think the trade we should be watching for is right after the game. It's gonna be for an edge rusher. I got a gut feeling it's for an edge rusher, and it all depends on what Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell get together and wanna pay for, and it's whoever they wanna go for. I'm until Monday, I doubt that the move gets done because they can't play this weekend if we trade for them now anyway. I did say, wouldn't it be funny in the middle of the Texans or Titans game if we traded for Harold Landry and he just has to tell somebody to get his bags and bring him to Detroit, and he has to switch jerseys at halftime. I know it can't happen, but it would be funny. Everybody says we haven't faced a decent defense like this one. We haven't faced a defense like that one. First they said, "Oh, the Bucks run defense is amazing." Look what they did to the Commanders in week 1. We ran the ball for 189 yards and threw for 300. Um, we had almost 500 yards of offense to their under 220. So I'm not as much worried about somebody's great defense. I'm more worried about if our defense can stop somebody else because that was our worst game overall defensively for yards and stats again. Granted, it was only the same amount of points as the Seahawks game. It cannot be understated that we gave up only 9 less yards, I believe it was, than we gained. But the difference was our red zone. We only allowed field goals, they allowed touchdowns. At halftime, that would be crazy. It was a joke. I know it can't happen, but it's funny to say. But I seriously think, because the Titans are full fire sale mode. Nobody else has traded away players like the Titans have yet, back to back. Trading away your starting linebacker and Ernest Jones to the Seahawks for Jeremy Baker, a guy that they poached off the practice squad from the Rams in a 4th round pick. Then trading away D Hop for a conditional 5th round pick to the Chiefs that can be a 4th round pick if they make the Super Bowl. And right now, the way they're playing, they're undefeated. You can't say they won't, but you can't say they will either because the offense has not been clicking as good as the defense. They are winning on defense early. Usually that happens late in the year with the Chiefs. Usually it's the offense that comes out. I'm actually surprised MCDC spilled the beans on damn near definite acquiring at the presser a few days ago. That means they are feeling the pressure 100%. And it's because of the pressure. Our offense should still score a lot of points. Like you said, we need the defense to be there. And yet, you know, the pressures were different. We're not used to seeing 3 sacks from our linebackers because we had to blitz more to get the pressure. And I said that would happen. And I expect it to continue till they make moves. Um, I'm surprised we didn't. I'm surprised we didn't pick up Jamin Davis, who was put on waivers on Tuesday. We could have had him for nothing. All we had to do is sign him to our roster, and he's on the 4th year of his rookie or 3rd year, 4th year of his rookie contract. Former 1st round pick, 19th pick overall. It was a guy that was rumored the Lions were high on if they couldn't get Panay Sewell and somebody else at the top of the draft. There was a rumor that they were going to get him, and everybody's like, "Why would they get him?" I said, "Because he's a defensive end slash outside linebacker. We're running a 3-4, and he fits. But he's also a former teammate of Josh Pascal's, and they used to wreck defenses in 2000 or offensive lines in 2019 together at Kentucky. It was a big reason why they won games. It wasn't because their offense was stellar at Kentucky. It was because them guys were getting pressures from both sides. And that's why I this Josh Pascal was our only lineman to get a sack last week, and that's kind of surprising with the talent we had at the defensive interior. I expected more out of him because Hutch didn't explode on the scene till Reeder was next to Aleem. I understand but at the same Harpazo, but at the same time, Brent, it's what we have to do right now until we get it schemed up better. And it was a great scheme. It worked. Yes, we gave up yards, but we didn't allow them to score. At least not much. But how great is Trevor Nowaski showing out? And I said he would if he had the chance to get on the field. He would make the best of it. So far, uh, he was our second highest rated defender last week against the run and the pass. He had one of the best pressure win rates and is looking like he might be that guy to replace Derek Barnes for the season. Smoking Dad! Good to see you. Man, um, for all the other teams in the North, who's on top right now? And even if we lose out a conference, ooh, I'm sure you talked about this, Jay, but who are your three most likely for us? I love it that the Blue Flu is working. I hear you, JB. AG actually did a great job. Um, I'm hearing on my end, it's either going to be Harold Landry or Arden Key. There's a shot at Garrett if the Browns go in full fire sale mode, but we haven't heard they did. We have not heard that they thrown everybody out on the bus out there. So I think it's Harold Landry or Arden Key myself because it actually makes sense with what Tim Twentyman said that we get a live audition on the field against looking at a great defense versus our offense. If they're able to get any pressure this week, whoever wins out of the two of them, I think that's who we trade for. I also like Aziz Ojolari off the Giants because they're in fire sale mode right now. There's only a few players you can't trade for, and that would be Malik Neighbors, Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns, and I can't remember the name of their safety that's doing good this year. So I think those are the only guys off that roster that are not up for trade. Um, Bryce Huff, who hasn't played a down all season after starting out like gangbusters at the beginning of the year last year, had an ACL tear, and I think he could be had for a late day 3 pick, and I wouldn't even mind if we traded for 2. But I 100% because if he wasn't picked up on waivers by anybody, he's sitting on the practice squad. You could poach Jamin Davis right now. I say trade for 1, get Jamin Davis, bring them in to get them acclimated and have them ready for the Packers, and I say do it Monday. Don't wait till Tuesday on the trade deadline. But I think those are the most likely. I think the Zadarius Smith one is an option if everything else fails because of his age and his cap hit. And I understand it's only going to be 8 games he gets game checks for, which makes it into 45% of his salary or 48.2, whatever it actually breaks down to. Harold Landry is almost the exact same size as Hutchinson. He's like 6'5" and 270. Um, Aziz Ojolari is 6'4" and 265. Uh, Bryce Huff, I got to look him up. I haven't heard his size. He's 26. Bryce Huff. He is 6'3" and 255. So he's another one. He's a defensive end. He came out of Memphis. Davis, I believe he's 6'3" and like 240, maybe 250, if I remember right. 6'3", 234 now. So he's just under 240 at 6'3". And he started as linebacker, but he got moved to defensive end because he's a pass rush specialist. But he's had um in his career he's only had 7 sacks. He's had pass deflections, an interception, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 fumble recoveries. So, I mean, he's had limited success. He didn't live up to the billing, but if you're getting him on the last year of a rookie contract and can decide if you want to keep him or not, it's somebody we could get for cheap. He played for the Commanders. That's where he was drafted at 19. Bryce Huff plays for the Eagles. He started out really good last year, if I remember right. Let me look those stats up for you on what he's had in his career. 26. He's had 71 totals, 19 sacks, a forced fumble, and 3 pass deflections as a defensive end. So, and he was drafted in, no, he wasn't drafted. He was just picked up in 2020 by the New York Jets and was on the Eagles last year. If you look, we've got a few players that are 280 plus, but most of our guys are in that 250 to 270 range in the defensive end room right now. So other than like the ones that are defensive tackles that can play edge. Remember, Pascal was a two-way player at Kentucky. He played defensive tackle and edge. That's why he was 290. Same with Levi Onwuzurike. Same with Mikai Wingo. They've all played interior and exterior. They weren't just exclusively defensive ends. Our exclusive defensive ends have all been, well, look at Hutch, 6'5", 270. James Houston, 6'1", 240. Uh, I like the idea of Bryce Huff because you can have him cheap because they haven't allowed him to play a game. He was second all team in the AAC All Athletic Conference with Memphis in 2018 and 19. But he didn't break onto the scene with the Jets until 2020 for some reason. Undrafted free agent with 19 sacks in 4 years. I like the idea of him. And it's why I've said it. He's been under the radar. He just had an injury in 2023 is why he didn't play much for the Jets. So there are guys out there that are in that second tier that are good. We all know who Zadarius Smith is, but at 33, injury prone and inconsistent, I don't know if I want to get a guy you'll have to pay 11 million for 8 games for 11.5 million. So, and I think that's why that deal didn't get done. Is because he has a $23 million cap hit. His play is inconsistent. He's had 1 sack for the Browns all year. So I've been. Oh, let me look at Aziz Ojulari and see if I got his size right because I thought I did a little bit of a profile with him once before. And he plays linebacker and defensive end, 6'3", 240. And he's been in the league since 2020, 21. He has 19 sacks on 93 tackles, 4 forced fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries, and 3 pass deflections. He has to develop his lateral agility to play better at the defensive end position. He has been there in spots, and he hasn't been horrible or good. He's just been average. He's excelled better at defensive tackle, which is what he naturally is coming out of college. He played more defensive tackle. 85% of his snaps in college was at defensive tackle. The lateral agility I'm talking about, he doesn't have fluid hips. He doesn't have great footwork. He has a semi-explosive first step and a good bull rush, but he lacks the hand pop to be effective. right now in the NFL, and I believe they're working on that. Look who he's got to work with. He's working behind Aleem and Reader, and now Broderick Martin is close to coming back. I doubt it. Um, who the hell's Daz Smith? Za'Darius? No, he won't take less money. He's 33. He's about ready to retire. That's why he's the last option on my list. All these guys I'm looking at are in that 24 to 26, 27 age range. Harold Landry, let's look up his stats so far. Yep, current team, Titans. I'm looking that stuff up. I don't mind looking up players. 6'2" and 252, so he's almost 260 at 6'2". This year he has 4 sacks and 15 solo tackles. But in his career, he's had 45 and a half sacks. He is born in 96. He's 28 years of age. So, but 45 and a half sacks. Basically the same production of Hassan Riddick. And nobody's talking about him, but yet he's played with the Titans and he played with our current line coach, Terrell Williams. And that's why I think he's the best fit out of everybody. And I think that's why this is his audition this weekend. And then there is that guy that I told you guys about that's on the other side of him that nobody talks about. Oh, how you doing there, Mr. Yeah, and I know that, and I know everybody says to go ahead and say fuck those picks and stuff like that. But Arden Key was born in '96. He was drafted in the by the Oakland Raiders in the third round in 2008. He's 6'5" and 240. He's had 20 sacks in his career, so not much as much production as like Aziz Ojolari, Bryce Huff, and Harold Landry, of course. And Jamin Davis is actually not far off of that for being in the league half the time. So, but he has 2 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, and 7 pass deflections. But he does play more linebacker than DN. But he's 6'5" and 240. So that's why we're watching those guys. But I like the idea of doing the like a Jamin Davis or a Bryce Huff, and then adding a guy like Landry or Key or Aziz Ojolari. Trying to swipe stuff off my notification that automatically goes into there. So, you know, would you guys want to trade all in on one player? Would you guys want to trade all in? I'm being realistic here. Trade all in, and I mean give up multiple first and multiple day 2 or possibly in day 3 picks to get somebody. Uh, Jags have not put anybody on the trade block because they won last week. They're waiting to see the results of this week, and there could be that fire sale too. The rumor is they only want a third or fourth round pick for them. Go get them, Brad. If that's the case, if they lose to the Packers on Sunday, go get them. Heck, for that matter, get Landry and Walker. We're down Davenport. Pascal is out with an illness, which means he'll be back. It's not an injury issue. Oh, we've all been there, Fred Peterson. I'm a well water drinker here in Burton. But if you could make lose out on a third round pick from 2026 and a fourth or fifth round pick from this year and end up with 2 edge rushers to come in to add that complement that adds a pass rush ability. If you could go get 2 of them and bring them in and go on the rest of the season and be just not as productive, but as far as sacks, but as productive pressure wise. And while everybody's crying, remember the 4.5 sacks that Aiden Hutchinson had, while they were key and a big reason why we didn't. Right, I agree. I say you don't want to trade any picks for 2026, but we'll have to if it's a third rounder in cost because we don't have a pick in 2025 for third rounder. We traded away both of them, once to move up to Arnold and the other one to move up to get Wingo if I or Manu, one of the two. I understand it, and I'm not saying that it's just as much of a chance that one of those places, one of those picks bust out as it is that one of those players might get injured because if you go all in, especially on an older player, and I'm saying players that are in 28, 29, and 30, it's not a question of if they get injured, it's when. If you trade for an older player, and I'm not calling Crosby an overplayer because I don't think he's an option because of what Mark Davis and Big Shea and Crosby himself has said as of late. And I'm sorry, I take people at their word. Am I gullible? Maybe. But I do take people at their word. If they say they don't wanna do something, that means they usually don't. And when they don't wanna do something, that means you pay through the nose 100%. It's an arm and a leg type of trade to get those players when they don't wanna trade them. And we haven't heard that Myles Garrett's on the trade block. I know they have to clear cap space somehow, and everybody forgets they restructured and took away a lot of the guaranteed money for Deshaun Watson this year. And if he doesn't play, if he's gonna be a year out, that means he's not playing 75 a snap between 2 seasons. They can cut him at no dead cap hit and get money back off of the insurance because there is that insurance policy against players missing X amount of time. So so they may not have to do anything and they'll clear that whole cap space up for next year. I love when people say this, that, and other, but they don't take into account the whole thing. Oh, I understand the place is a dumpster fire. But the management hasn't said everybody's up for sale. Who's got traded from the Browns yet? Has anybody been traded from the Browns? All I know is this team is all about this right now. Let's do it for Hutch. I mean, the videos I've seen of the kids that, yeah, but Amari Cooper is asked to get out. That's the thing. He's the only one that asked to get out of there so far. Garrett is mad at the fans, not the organization. Go back and rewatch that video. It was a reaction to how they treated Deshaun Watson when he was being carted off the field for the chants and the boos they did to him. It was totally wrong for fans to do what they did. I'm sorry. Um, he was never put under criminal charges. Everything was civil. No, he wanted out because the day that they Dan Campbell said the plan for Hooker right off the rip. It's to develop him to be the best backup quarterback. That way, if anything, God forbid, does happen to Goff, we got somebody of starter quality. That was his words just before the season. So that might be another reason why you've seen none of these big players move. That might be what they're asking for. Does anybody think about that? Because let's face it, Goff just turned what, 29, 30 years old? It's not a question of when he'll get injured, it's if. Or not a question of if, it's when. Yeah, he just turned 30 on October 14th, and we were remiss. And, I know a few of you said it, but I didn't say it. I understand it because pretty much as soon as he was able to request a trade, the Bills came calling. They didn't wait. A day later, what happened? The team that was in a fire sale and it was announced as it was a fire sale. At 30 years old, that's when injuries happen to quarterbacks and every other player in the league. It's not a question of if, it's when. And it may not happen when they're 30. I'm talking 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. You know, quarterbacks play sometimes till they're 40. It's rarer, but we've seen it. Drew Brady or Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, I think was damn near 40 when he got out. Eli Manning left early. Yep, the only thing he needs is development, and you know what? The more if we get into those games where we got the big lead in the 4th quarter, he'll get more snaps in an NFL game. Granted, it's gonna be with backup, but that's gonna help his growth further down the road, and I agree with what Dan Campbell said. He's being developed to be the best backup quarterback in the NFL. Yes, I'll do it for you right now. FTP. Lock the packet. And I'm not saying the Jags will win, but their back is against the wall. The GM literally said the next game they lose, they're going on a fire sale. So, yeah, I want Houston going. I've seen enough. He's played in 2 games. The one he was a penalty magnet, and in both games he was a pancake. No push, no nothing, no bend, no get off. It's been awful to watch. If we make a move for a top 2 a good chance of a 31st or 32nd round pick, it would take a lot with the lower value. I understand that. But at the same time, if you trade for a top end guy, then all you can do is poach somebody's practice squad for another one. We need 2 edges. So if you do 2 of the 2nd and 3rd tier guys together, I think that makes the team better overall because you're getting 2 guys with production. I mean, 45 and a half sacks, and he's only been in the league since 2018. That's nothing to sneeze at. He's 28 years old. Let's go. The other guy is 20 with 19. Let's go. The other guy's got 7 and he's only been in the league 3 years, but he's always been in a backup role because he was behind Montez Sweat and Chase Young and then Jonathan Allen and everybody else there. You know, he didn't get in as much as he should have. He got in a lot his rookie year, which is where he got a majority of his sacks. I think he got 5 that year in 2019, but the rest of them has been in rotation. And that's what we need is better rotation. If we get better rotation, we get better pressure. I just feel like that's the move to go for a tier 2 like Harold Landry, and then go poach Jamin Davis or get Bryce Huff. You could get those guys for day 2, day 3 picks. You're not selling away the first round pick. And go look it up. I'm not bullshitting. 28 through 32, those picks, which means you're in the elite. That means you're in the NFC Championship game or the Super Bowl, correct? That is where most of your Hall of Famers have came out of the draft in the first round. There's been more from there than there has been in the top 10. So, and that's because those players go to better teams. I've been preaching this, trying to get it through. I try to make fans understand it because if you're going to a better team, you're individually going to have better success because you may not be required to do as much your rookie season. You can become depth and not have to be the starter right away. That's my point. Uh, You know, there's been more Hall of Famers from the 2nd, 4th, 5th, and 7th round than there's been out of the first round as a total. So, am I saying not get the top guy if you can? No. But I'm saying if you can get 2 tier 2 guys or a tier 2 and a tier 3 that helps us out and makes us look better to get us through the season. Yeah, whoever has the expiring contract is a rental. Whoever has the 3-year contract, guess what? You just solved your problem for opposite Hutch. It's a win-win because Hutch has been effective on both sides of the ball, whether facing a left tackle or right tackle. So he can play both sides. So if the guy's predominantly a right end, Hutchinson becomes a left end. If the guy's predominantly a left end, Hutch is a right end already. We're good. That's what I'm getting at. And people are being small minded and saying, oh, we got to get this guy, or this guy. And I just don't think that's the case. And I think that's where Brad Holmes is at. And I think that's what he's preaching to Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell might be seeing the stars and going, oh, let's get this guy, let's get this guy. But, you know, if you get a guy that has 28 million this year, yes, that's less than 14 million in game checks for the rest of the season when you trade for him Monday. But what about when that cap goes up to 35 million next year and you're only sitting with about 56 million? And then you have to think, oh, the rest of our draft picks and who we have to resign, who are we letting go? That's what when it hurts the team. It's not in the now, it's in the future. And I'm trying to be realistic. I would love Garrett Brown or Max Crosby here. Don't get me wrong. Don't get it twisted. But I also don't want to sacrifice the building of the team in the future to keep it going. I mean, Les Need, well, look at that. Hey, there we go. Les Need, after he drafted Jared Goff, didn't have a first round pick till this year. Look at what they're going through since the Super Bowl win. Matt Stafford got hurt. They made the playoffs and lost to the Lions in the wild card. Right now, it's looking like they have a chance of not even making the playoffs because they're less than 500. And the later it goes in the season at less than 500, the lower your chances get. We all know this. We've seen it. Look at the year we went 9-8 and had a chance to get in. We had to pray for a Seahawks loss before we even played to get to our ninth win. The Seahawks lost. We still played our asses off and beat the Packers. So, despite what anybody thinks, since the TJ Hawkinson trade, we've been one of the hottest teams in football. I I'm just not that guy that buys into every clickbait rumor out there. And I again will apologize for buying into the one that somebody sent me about the fact that the NFL decided not to suspend JMO. I should have looked at the name. Hypnol. Jesus, I got duped, and I apologize. And that's why I said I'm not doing the reports thing while I'm live anymore. I don't mind looking up a player profile when it has to do with the team. If this was the NFL show, yes, I would go look up the Tua thing. I'd go off camera and let everybody else talk where I have guests. But I'm doing it solo right now, so there's only a couple of things I can do. In a way, I like and I hate that Tua cleared protocol. I'm going to say it again. I think it's a huge mistake. I think it's too soon. I think he should have sat out the year, at minimum, if not retired. I think whoever he got to medically clear him prior to this, if he gets a concussion in the first game, remember, Darius Robinson just came back healthy, and he's starting to be a tear for Arizona. That's one of the big reasons why the San Francisco 49ers lost. He had 2 sacks in that game on Purdy. If that man at that size, Darius Robinson, remember it was Terrion Arnold, Darius Robertson, and a couple of offensive linemen we were looking for. He was picked 27th, so 4 picks after Arnold. The kid's just starting to play. And I listened to him in his interview. He sounded like a coach on the field. There was a few guys that I put that check mark on that I thought was going to be successful by how they talked in their game preparation at the draft media room. It was Darius Robertson, Layatu Letu, Jaden Daniels, Terrion Arnold, um, J.C. Latham. All those guys, they sounded like a coach and a player by their game preparation technique. And I said, these guys are going to be successful just because of that. There was only 11 guys at the draft. I listened to all of them, and there was a couple of guys I was like, yeah. But I didn't hear that next level click in the game preparation. Jared Verse was one of them. I, I know he's a good player. I know he's going to be good, but I didn't hear that next level click in the interview. I want to be real about what I'm saying here. There's a next level click in interviews that you hear from rookies on the ones in the past that have had great careers, and it's always the ones that sound like they're a coach in their own head already. That's what I was getting at. But it is time to do my sponsors in order of place in the division. Do I start at the top or do I start at the bottom? I'll let you guys decide. We got 54 people watching. Please like, share. If you want to subscribe, you can. I do not beg for my subscription. I ask you guys to share because that gets me more subs than me begging for it. I think that if the fans want to give me subs, they'll get them for me. And they do. Save the best for last. Okay, so starting from the bottom, the decision has been made. FDB, fuck the Bears. In third place, with a 5-2 record, the Packers. In third place, and after their loss on Thursday night, easy for me to say, get skull fucked with a 5-2 record. And at top, it's the mighty, mighty Lions, Kings of the North, 5-1 with a 1-0 division record. One pride. I love doing this stuff. And look, for some of you guys that came in later, Shefty and even said, after tonight's Vikings lost to the Rams, teams that play the Lions 1 week are now 0-5 the very next week. The Rams lost to the Cardinals. They got blowed the hell out. I think it was 42-17. The Bucks lost to the Broncos. I think that was another big blowout. The Cardinals lost to the Commanders. There was a blowout. Seahawks lost to the Giants by 9. The Cowboys were on the bye, and the Vikings lose to the Ram by 10. The lowest margin of victory was the Giants over the Seahawks. That's huge. You guys don't realize this. That means even without Hutchinson, we were an imposing and physical team that beat that team down. Say what you want. We demoralized teams. That's what it is. They know they played. They know they played with one of the most physical. It's Lionitis. I love it. Lionitis. I've heard Honolulu Blu Flu. I like the hangover effect. It's a hangover. But the Honolulu Blu Flu could also be like the brown bottle flu. For a little while there, you kind of go, oh, God, that hurt. Kind of like drinking Mad Dog 2020 back in the 90s. Tasted so good, but you paid for it later. At least I thought it tasted good when I remember it. What I remember drinking it. I don't remember much after. Anybody remember drinking Mad Dog 2020 in their 20s? Going to parties every weekend after working your busting your butt Monday through Friday. Back when finding a Monday through Friday job was easy. And last but not least, it's the sponsor that I work for. Granted, I'm not working much right now with a pinched nerve in my back, but I get to manage tomorrow night, so I at least get 1 or 2 days a week. It is Brandon Service, right at the corner of South Grand Traverse and West Atherton Road, 602 West Atherton Road. In Flint, where the water's shit, but the tires are good. Stop in and check us out. Used tires at $45 and up. All prices include taxes and installation. The tires are for prices or size are by size and condition. If you need new tires, please call 810-233-8230. Talk to George, Red, or on Saturdays, myself. If you mention this ad and you need a set of tires, you will get 10 off. Make sure you tell them the Smoke and Jeremy B sent you from Lionsdale. It has been a great day and an honor to do this all week, and I'll do it again tonight at 9 p.m. when I will have my guest. Austin Hacker will be here. I believe Will is out. Might Keegan is out because he's working. Might have Cameron Luke. I know Beastrilla the Thriller will be here. Who knows? Maybe we'll even have a Von Doom sighting. It could happen. Stranger things have happened. Try every day to be a better person than you were the day before. That's the only way to make the world a better place. It starts right here. And artist says we should send the Vikings a care package of kneecap soup to help feel better. Oh, that's so cute. I like it. And again, through week 8, have you beaten a team with a winning record? Of course, it's week 8. Caleb Williams answers, I feast on the blood of the weak and wither in the shadow of the strong. Like a fan. Have a great day, everybody.